Commander Pelthak stood on the bridge of the Imperial dreadnought, unstoppable. He was young for such a high position. His skin was still smooth, not scarred like the veterans. He had never seen real battle, only training exercises. The High. Council had given him this mission as an easy way to prove himself. Go to Earth, show force, accept surrender. Simple. We will reach Earth orbit in 6 hours, said his second-in-command. Our scans show they have noticed us. Pelthak smiled. Good. Fear works better when they can see us coming. On the main screen, the blue planet grew larger. It was pretty, with white clouds and blue oceans. The Vespians would enjoy living there after the humans were put in their place. Sir, we're picking up many small objects in orbit around the planet, said the scanner officer. Most appear to be simple satellites for communication. Some seem to be primitive weapons. Target their weapons first, ordered Pelthak. Then their communication satellites. Let them go dark and blind before we even say hello. The weapons. Officer pressed buttons on his control panel. Targets locked, Commander. Fire. Green beams shot out from the dreadnought. In space around Earth, 20 satellites exploded into pieces. On Earth, in a deep underground room, Major Alan Gray watched the attack on large screens. Next to him, Lieutenant Susan Miller worked quickly at her computer. They've taken out our first line of defense satellites, she reported. Just as we expected. Gray nodded. His face was calm, but his hands were tight fists at his sides. Are the Trojan Horse satellites in position? Yes, sir. The aliens didn't spot them. They look like broken satellites, just floating space junk. But they're all working and ready. Gray picked up a red phone. This is Major Gray, Phase 1 complete. The enemy has taken the bait. Request permission to start Phase 2. Through the phone came the voice of Admiral Bishop. Permission granted. May God help us all. Gray put down the phone and turned to Miller. Launch the drones. In space, what looked like broken pieces of satellites suddenly came to life. Small doors opened in their sides. Hundreds of tiny drones flew out, each no bigger than a football. They were simple but deadly. Each carried a small nuclear charge. They had been designed for just this moment. On the Unstoppable, alarms started to sound. Commander, we have objects approaching. Many objects. The scanner officer's voice was high with surprise. What? Show me. Pelthak leaned forward. The screen showed hundreds of small dots moving toward his ship from all directions. They're too small for our main guns to target effectively, said the weapons officer. And there are too many for our defense systems. Pelthak couldn't believe what he was seeing. Impossible. Their technology isn't advanced enough for this. Sir, the objects are accelerating. Evasive maneuvers. Full power to shields, Pelthak shouted. The huge ship tried to turn, but it was too slow. The drones hit one after another. Each explosion was small, but there were so many. The ship's shields failed after the 37th hit. After that, the drones hit the ship itself. In his command chair, Pelthak held on as his perfect ship fell apart around him. Warning lights flashed everywhere. Crew members shouted in panic. Get us out of here, he ordered. Back to Imperial space. The damaged ship turned away from Earth. Its engines fired and it disappeared into the darkness of space. In the underground room, people cheered and hugged each other. They had won the first battle against an alien ship. Major Gray didn't cheer. He knew this was just the beginning. They'll be back, he said to Lieutenant Miller, and next time they'll bring friends. 1 month later, Admiral Bishop stood before the leaders of Earth's major countries. The room was tense. On a large screen was an image that scared everyone. 30 large alien ships heading toward Earth. Ladies and gentlemen, Bishop said, we have 1 month before those ships arrive. Our first victory bought us time, but now we need to get ready for a real war. President Joseph Clark stood up. He was an older man with white hair and tired eyes. What do you suggest, Admiral? We can't defeat 30 ships with the same trick. No, sir, Bishop agreed. We need new weapons, new ships. Dr. Reeves and her team have been studying the pieces of the alien ship we damaged. They've learned some of their technology. Dr. Catherine Reeves stepped forward. She was a small woman with short brown hair and bright eyes full of intelligence. The alien technology is advanced, but we understand parts of it now. We've found a way to power ships that can travel faster than light. We can build 5 ships in the time we have. 5 ships against 30? Asked the Russian president. That seems like suicide. It would be, said Admiral Bishop, if we planned to fight them directly. But we have a different plan. He pressed a button, and the screen changed to show a map of stars. This is the alien empire, based on what we can tell from their computers. They have many planets and space stations. But we found something interesting. Most of their ships are made and supplied here. He pointed to one spot. It's like their main factory and warehouse. If we can hit it, we can hurt their ability to make war. Colonel Heather Martinez stepped up next. She was tall and strong, with dark eyes that showed no fear. I'll be leading the attack team. Our ships will jump to this location and destroy their supply base. Without fuel and weapons, their attack fleet will be much weaker when it reaches Earth. The room was silent as everyone thought about this plan. It was risky, it might not work, but it was the best chance they had. How many people will you need for this mission? Asked President Clark. 500, said Colonel Martinez. All volunteers. And if you succeed, best case, we destroy their base completely and get back safely. And worst case, Martinez's face was serious. We don't come back, but we still complete the mission. The Chinese president spoke up. You're asking people to go on what might be a one-way trip? Yes, Martinez said simply. And do you have these volunteers? Martinez smiled a little. Sir, when we put out the call, we had 10,000 people sign up in the first day. Choosing only 500 was the hard part. In space dock above Earth, 5 new ships were almost ready. They had been built using both human and alien technology. They weren't pretty. They looked rough and thrown together. But they worked. The largest ship was called the Defiance. Colonel Martinez walked through its halls, checking that everything was ready. Chief Engineer Paul Rogers worked beside her. The power cores are working, he said, but they're not stable. We don't understand the alien technology well enough yet. We can make one jump for sure. Coming back? He shook his head. We always knew this might be a one-way trip, Martinez said. As long as we can hit the target, that's what matters. On the day of launch, the 5 ships left Earth. Their crews were scared but determined. As they prepared for the light jump, Colonel Martinez spoke to all the ships. Whatever happens today, remember, we fight not just for ourselves, but for everyone back home. For Earth. The ships disappeared in flashes of light. Behind them, Earth prepared for the coming battle, hoping their brave pilots would succeed. Commander Kralzax walked slowly into the grand meeting room of the Vespian Empire. His steps were careful. One of his 4 legs was gone, replaced by a metal one that clicked on the shiny floor. The room was huge, with tall windows that showed the stars outside. Around a large table sat 12 council members, all wearing fancy clothes that showed their high rank. Kralzax stood straight, though it hurt him. His body still had pain from his fights with the humans. He had gone to their planet as part of a small team to learn about them. What should have been a simple look-and-leave mission turned into a fight for his life. Only he and one other scout had made it back alive. Commander, we have read your report, said High Chancellor Voxtrill, the leader of the council. Her voice was cold. These humans seem very primitive. Their technology is far behind ours. Why do you sound so worried? Kralzax took a deep breath. High Chancellor, the humans are not like other species we have met. They look soft, but they are not. When we were spotted near their moon base, they did not run or hide as most new species do. They attacked us. A council member laughed. With what? You said they barely have ships that can leave their own planet. They used what they had, Kralzax said. They turned mining ships into weapons. They crashed them into our scout ships, on purpose. The pilots knew they would die, they did it anyway. The room went quiet for a moment. In the Vespian Empire, life was precious. No one would choose certain death, not even soldiers. There were always escape pods, backup plans, ways to survive. They must not have understood what they were doing, said another council member. Kralzax shook his head. They knew. Before one, human crashed his ship into ours. We heard his message to his base. He said, "For Earth." He was smiling. In the back of the room, Ambassador Nira watched carefully. Unlike the others, she had studied humans for years by watching their broadcasts. Their stories, music, and history all showed one thing: humans would fight against any odds. "Commander," said the High Chancellor, "one small group of humans doing desperate things does not mean their whole species is dangerous. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. Many tried to resist at first." "This is different," Kralzax insisted. His voice got louder. "I have fought in 12 system wars. I have never seen any species that does not fear death in battle. The humans don't just accept it, they welcome it when they think their cause is right." Ambassador Nira stepped forward. "If I may speak, High Chancellor." She bowed low. "The commander is correct. In my studies of human culture, they have something they call heroism. They tell stories about it, sing songs about it. Their highest honor is to die for others. Their whole history is full of battles where small groups fought against much larger forces even when they knew they would lose." The council members looked at each other. Some seemed worried now, but most still had doubt on their faces. "So what do you suggest?" asked the High Chancellor. "That we leave a developing planet alone just because they might put up a good fight? The humans have resources we need. Their star system is in a perfect spot for our next expansion. We cannot change our plans because of some primitive behavior." Kralzax tried one more time. "Send more scouts. Learn more about them. Don't start a war without understanding who you're fighting." The High Chancellor stood up. Her decision was made. "One dreadnought will be enough. We will show them our power, and they will surrender like all the others. This meeting is over." As the council members left, Nira walked up to Kralzax. "They won't listen until they see for themselves," she said quietly. "By then it might be too late," he answered. Far away, on the blue planet called Earth, Captain Lisa Winters sat up straight. In her chair, she had been working at the SETI station for 8 years, searching for signs of alien life. And now, after all that time, the computers were picking up something strange. A signal that was clearly not natural, and not from Earth. "Get me, Admiral." "Bishop," she said to her assistant, her eyes never leaving the screen. "Now." 20 minutes later, Admiral Frank Bishop walked into the small control room. He was a tall man with gray hair and serious eyes. "This better be good, Captain," he said. Lisa pointed to the screen. "Sir, we're picking up a signal from just outside our solar system. It's artificial, and it's not one of ours." The Admiral leaned closer. "You're sure?" "Positive, sir. And there's more." She pressed a button and a sound played through the speakers. It was like nothing they had ever heard before. Clicks and hums and strange tones. "Our computers have been working on translating it based on mathematical patterns. It's not perfect, but we figured out a few words." She handed him a paper. The Admiral read it and his face went dark. "Attack, submission, Earth." He looked up. "This doesn't sound friendly." "No, sir, it doesn't. And look at this." She showed him another screen with a radar image. A large object was moving toward Earth. "Whatever sent that message is coming here fast." Admiral Bishop straightened his back. He had been in the Navy for 30 years. He had seen war up close. But nothing had prepared him for this moment. "How long do we have?" "At its current speed?" 3 weeks, maybe a month." The Admiral nodded. "Call the Joint Chiefs, call the President. As of this moment, Captain, we are at war." He looked out the window at the night sky. "And God help us all." In her small apartment in Washington, D.C., Dr. Catherine Reeves was woken up by her phone ringing. She had been studying what might happen if humans ever met aliens. For years, people had laughed at her work. No one was laughing now. "Dr. Reeves," said the voice on the phone. "This is General Clark. We need you at the Pentagon. Now." Around the world, military bases went on high alert. Scientists were called to emergency meetings. And in space, on the International Space Station, astronaut Eric Johnson looked down at Earth, wondering if it would be the last time anyone saw it in peace. The Vespian dreadnought moved closer each day. Earth prepared as best it could. And Commander Kralzax, back on his homeworld, looked at the stars and hoped he was wrong about what was coming. 2 weeks after the attack on the Vespian supply base, Commander Kralzax stood before Grand Admiral Drevkon with an unusual request. "I want to form a special team to study the humans more deeply," said Kralzax. "If we are to defeat them, we must understand them." Drevkon looked annoyed. "We do not need to understand insects before we step on them. With respect, Admiral, these insects destroyed half of our main supply base and damaged one of our best ships. We lost 23 ships protecting the base." Drevkon was silent for a moment. Then he waved a hand. "Fine. You have 1 week before we reach Earth. Learn what you can." Kralzax gathered a small team of the fleet's smartest officers, including cultural analyst Miraleth, who had studied many alien species before. They spent days looking at every piece of information they had about humans. They watched Earth broadcasts that had been collected over the years. They studied the way the human ships had fought. They analyzed the few human bodies they had recovered from space battles. After 5 days, they presented their findings to the Admiral and other high-ranking officers. "Humans are unique among the species we have encountered," began Miraleth. She showed images of human history on a large screen. "Their entire history is filled with war. They fight over land, resources, religion, ideas, even small insults. So they are violent primitives," said one officer. "We already knew that." "It's more complex," said Kralzax. "They have turned warfare into something like an art form. They study it. They honor those who die in battle. They have developed thousands of different weapons and tactics." Miraleth continued. "Most importantly, they respond to threats in a way no other species does. When threatened, they unite. Former enemies become allies against the new threat." She showed images from Earth. People from countries that had been at war just years before now working together against the aliens. "This is why our normal strategy won't work," said Kralzax. "Usually, we can conquer a planet by turning different groups against each other. The humans are doing the opposite. They're putting aside their differences to fight us together." "What do you suggest?" asked Drevkon, looking less dismissive now. "A new approach," said Kralzax. "One based on understanding what motivates humans to fight so hard." On Earth, a similar meeting was taking place. Dr. Catherine Reeves stood before the Emergency War Council, explaining what they had learned about the Vespians. "Their society is very ordered and hierarchical," she said. "Everyone knows their place. They value efficiency above all else." "How does that help us?" asked President Clark. "It tells us something important," said Dr. Reeves. "They expect resistance to fall apart once the cost becomes too high. In their society, continuing a fight that you're likely to lose is seen as wasteful and illogical." General Stephen Nelson, the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, leaned forward. "So they don't understand why we're still fighting." "Exactly," said Dr. Reeves. "And we can use that confusion against them." Admiral Bishop pointed to a map showing the alien fleet's approach. "They'll be here in 9 days. Our remaining defenses won't hold them off for long." "Then we need something they won't expect," said President Clark. "Something so surprising it will make them pause." Dr. Reeves had been thinking about this problem for days. "I have an idea," she said, "but it's risky, and we'll need help from inside their fleet." Everyone looked at her in surprise. "Inside help? From who?" asked General Nelson. "From someone who understands humans better than the others," said Dr. Reeves. "Someone who tried to warn them not to start this war." In his private quarters on the Emperor's will, Kralzax sat at his desk. He was doing something that would get him executed if anyone found out. He was trying to contact Earth. Using knowledge from his studies, he had found a way to send a signal that the other Vespians wouldn't notice. It was hidden inside what looked like regular communication noise. He didn't expect the humans to answer. He didn't even know if they would get his message, but he had to try. To his shock, after 3 days of sending the signal, he got a response. "This is Dr. Catherine Reeves of Earth," said a voice in his headset. "Are you the Vespian who warned against attacking us?" Kralzax was so surprised he almost fell from his chair. "Yes," he answered in the human language he had learned. "I am Commander Kralzax. How did you find my signal? We've been studying your communication systems, said Dr. Reeves. We thought someone like you might exist in the fleet. Someone who knew this war was a mistake. Kralzax looked nervously at his door, though he knew it was locked. The war is worse than a mistake. It's a disaster. Your people fight in ways my people cannot understand. The Admiral still thinks he can win by destroying your cities one by one. And what do you think? I think more will die on both sides, and for no good reason. This war helps no one. There was a pause before Dr. Reeves spoke again. Would you be willing to help us end it? Kralzax had spent his life serving the Empire. What she was asking was treason, but he had seen enough death. What do you need? Over. The next few days, Kralzax and Dr. Reeves spoke secretly many times. He told her about the fleet's weaknesses, their plans, their weapons. She told him about Earth's new plan, something they called Operation Phoenix. Meanwhile, Earth was preparing for the coming battle. Every ship that could fly was made ready. Weapons were placed on the moon and on space stations. But the most important work was happening in a secret facility in Colorado. There, Dr. Reeves worked with a team of scientists and computer experts. They were developing a special kind of computer virus, one that could work on the alien systems. Kralzax had given them the information they needed to make it work. This isn't a normal virus, Dr. Reeves explained to President Clark when he visited the facility. It won't destroy their systems. Instead, it will show them the truth. The truth about what? Asked the president. About why this war started. About how their leaders ignored warnings. About how humans fight not because we love war, but because we love what we're protecting. The president looked skeptical. And you think this will make them stop fighting? Not all of them, said Dr. Reeves. But enough to matter. As the alien fleet came closer to Earth, final preparations were made. In a top-secret base, a small team was getting ready for a special mission. They would fly a stolen alien scout ship that had been captured and repaired. Their mission was to get inside the Imperial fleet and plant the virus in their main communication system. Commander Eric Johnson was chosen to lead the team. He was a former Navy SEAL with calm eyes and steady hands. With him would go Lieutenant Maria Hayes, a communications expert who had helped create the virus. The day before they were to leave, Eric met with Admiral Bishop. You understand this is likely a one-way trip, said the Admiral. Eric nodded. Like the supply base mission, but worth it if it works. The difference is you won't be destroying anything, said Bishop. You'll be revealing the truth. Sometimes, that's more powerful than any weapon. In space, the Imperial fleet had almost reached Earth. Grand Admiral Drevkon was confident of victory despite the setbacks. He had 25 powerful ships against a primitive planet. The outcome seemed certain, but in the quiet of his quarters, Commander Kralzax knew that nothing about this war had been certain from the start, and it was about to become even less so. He looked at the small device in his hand, a special transmitter. Dr. Reeves had told him how to make. When the human team arrived in their stolen ship, this would help them find him. Together, they would try to end a war that should never have started. Kralzax had fought all his life for the Empire. Now, for the first time he was fighting for peace, it felt strange, but it also felt right. Grand Admiral Drevkon was not used to failure. In his 100 years of service to the Vespian Empire, he had won every battle. Now he stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Emperor's Will, looking at the reports of Commander Pelthax's defeat. His 4 arms were crossed over his chest and his yellow eyes were narrow with anger. One ship, he said, his voice dangerously quiet. One of our best ships was damaged by primitives who have not even left their own solar system. He looked up at the officers around him. Can anyone explain this? No one spoke. Then a voice came from the back of the bridge. I can explain it, Grand Admiral. Drevkon turned to see Commander Kralzax walking toward him. The veteran warrior moved with a slight limp from his metal leg. Commander Kralzax, said Drevkon, I did not request your presence on this mission. The High Council thought my experience with the humans might be useful, said Kralzax. They were right. I warned them that humans are not like other species we have conquered. They do not think the same way we do about battle. Drevkon waved, one of his hands dismissively. Pelthak was young and stupid. He underestimated them. I will not make the same mistake. He turned to his tactical officer. Show me the battle plan. A large screen lit up showing Earth and the 30 ships that would soon attack it. The plan was simple. Surround the planet, destroy their defenses, and force them to surrender. This is wrong, said Kralzax, looking at the plan. The humans will not surrender easily. They will find ways to hurt us, even at great cost to themselves. Drevkon's patience was wearing thin. Commander, your concerns have been noted. Now prepare for battle like everyone else. In another part of space, 5 human ships appeared in a flash of light. They had arrived at their target, the main supply base of the Vespian Empire. It was huge, with docks for hundreds of ships and giant warehouses full of weapons, fuel, and parts. Colonel Martinez looked at it from the bridge of the Defiance. It's bigger than we thought, she said, and better guarded, added her second-in-command, showing her the scanner readings. 20 Vespian ships protected the base. Martinez took a deep breath. We stick to the plan. The other ships will attack from different sides to create confusion. We'll go straight for the main fuel depot. She pressed a button on her chair. All ships, this is Colonel Martinez. You know what we came here to do. For Earth. The 5 human ships split up and attacked from different directions. The Vespian guard ships were caught by surprise. They had never expected an attack here so deep in their own territory. The battle was fierce. 2 human ships were destroyed quickly, but they managed to take 3 Vespian ships with them. The remaining human ships caused chaos, flying in unpredictable patterns and firing at anything they could hit. The Defiance flew straight toward the center of the base, where huge tanks held the fuel for the Empire's ships. Vespian fighters chased them, firing constantly. Shields at 40%, reported Lieutenant Kyle Bennett from his station. We're taking heavy damage. Stay on course, ordered Martinez. All power to forward shields and engines. The ship shook, as it was hit again and again. Warning lights flashed everywhere. Shields failing, said Bennett. We won't make it to the target. Martinez looked at her crew. They all knew what had to happen next. Prepare to ram the fuel depot. Set the power core to overload. Chief Engineer Rogers spoke from the engine room through the ship's communication system. Colonel, if we overload the core, the explosion will be massive. No one will survive, not even in escape pods. I know, Paul, said Martinez softly. But if we don't do this, Earth doesn't stand a chance. There was silence for a moment. I understand, said Rogers finally. Core overload sequence started. We have 3 minutes. Martinez stood up straight. All hands, this is the Colonel. It has been an honor serving with you. Anyone who wants to try for the escape pods should go now, though I can't promise you'll get far. No one moved. Martinez smiled sadly. I thought so. Helmsman, full speed ahead. Let's make this count. The Defiance flew straight into the heart of the fuel depot. The ship's already damaged structure began to break apart from the strain. Just before impact, the power core reached critical levels. The explosion was like a small sun being born. It destroyed the Defiance completely, but also the fuel depot and several nearby Vespian ships. Chain reactions spread through the base, as other fuel tanks and weapons storage areas caught fire and exploded. By the time it was over, half the base was destroyed, and with it, much of the Empire's war supplies. The remaining human ships were also gone, but they had completed their mission at the cost of their lives. Back on the Emperor's will, Grand Admiral Drevkon received the news of the attack on the supply base. His face showed shock for the first time in many years. How? He demanded. How did they get all the way to Supply Base Alpha? How did they even know it existed? Kralzax stood nearby, his face grim. I told you, Admiral. They do not think like us. They are willing to die if it means hurting their enemy. Drevkon slammed all 4 of his fists on the table. This changes nothing. We still have enough ships to crush their planet. We have the ships, said Kralzax. But now we have less fuel, fewer replacement parts, and smaller weapon supplies. The attack will be harder. Then we will be smarter, said Drevkon. Change of plans. We will not surround their planet right away. First, we will destroy their moon base and any ships they have. Then we will target their major cities one by one. They will surrender to save their people. Kralzax shook his head. You still don't understand. The more of them you kill, the harder the rest will fight. Drevkon ignored him and walked away to give new orders to his fleet. On Earth, news of the supply base attack came through. The 5 ships had managed to send one last message before they were destroyed. In the White House, President Clark and his advisors listened to Colonel Martinez's final words. Mission successful. Supply base heavily damaged. Hope it's enough to give Earth a fighting chance. It was an honor to serve. Martinez out. The room was silent after the message ended. Then Admiral Bishop spoke. They knew they weren't coming back. They went anyway. President Clark nodded slowly. Make sure everyone knows their names. What they did. He looked out the window at the sky. And make sure their sacrifice wasn't for nothing. We still have a war to win. In space, the remaining 25 ships of the Imperial fleet adjusted their course. They were coming more carefully now, more warily. But they were still coming. On the Emperor's will, Kralzax stood alone, looking at the stars. They don't understand what they're facing, he said quietly to himself. And by the time they do, it might be too late for all of us. The stolen alien scout ship moved silently through space. It looked like any other Vespian ship from the outside, but inside 5 humans worked at the controls. Commander Eric Johnson checked the ship's position again. They were close to the Imperial fleet now. All systems normal, reported Lieutenant Maria Hayes from her station. Their scanners show us as a regular scout ship returning from patrol. Eric nodded. This was the most dangerous part of their mission. If the Vespians looked too closely at their ship, they would notice things were not right. Is the signal from Kralzax still active? He asked. Maria checked her screen. Yes. It's coming from the flagship, just as he said it would. We're on course to dock there in 20 minutes. Eric turned to the other 3 team members, Sam White, a computer expert, Rosa Garcia, a weapons specialist, and Ben Miller, their pilot. Remember the plan. We dock, we meet Kralzax, we plant the virus, and we get out if we can. If not, he didn't need to finish. They all knew the risks. The Imperial fleet hung in space like a group of giant metal birds. 25 huge ships, each carrying thousands of Vespian soldiers and enough weapons to destroy a city. At the center was the flagship Emperor's Will, twice as large as any other ship. Inside the flagship, Commander Kralzax waited nervously near the docking bay where the human ship would arrive. He had told the docking master that he was expecting a scout ship with important information. No one had questioned him. He was a respected commander after all. The small scout ship docked without problems. When its door opened, Kralzax was still surprised to see humans step out even though he had been expecting them. They looked so different from his people. Soft skin instead of scales, no tail, only 2 arms and 2 legs. Commander Kralzax asked one of the humans, a tall male. Yes, said Kralzax. You must be Commander Johnson. Eric nodded. And this is Lieutenant Hayes and the rest of our team. Do you have what we need? Kralzax handed him a small device. This will get you past security to the main communication center, but we must hurry. The fleet will begin attacking Earth in less than 2 hours. The group moved quickly through the huge ship. When they passed other Vespians, Kralzax would speak to them in his language, and the aliens would move on without suspicion. The humans kept their heads down, wearing stolen Vespian uniforms that hid most of their features. Finally, they reached a large door with strange symbols on it. This is it, said Kralzax. The main communication hub. From here, all messages go out to the entire fleet and to the Empire beyond. He pressed the device he had given Eric against a panel by the door. It lit up green, and the door slid open. Inside were 3 Vespian officers working at control panels. They looked up in surprise. Security inspection, said Kralzax in a commanding voice. Leave us for 30 minutes. Two of the officers got up right away, but the third looked suspicious. I wasn't told about any inspection, he said. Kralzax stepped closer to him. Are you questioning a direct order? The officer hesitated, then stood up. No, Commander, 30 minutes. He and the others left the room. As soon as they were gone, Maria and Sam rushed to the control panels. This is amazing technology, said Sam, looking at the complex systems. But I think I can understand it with what Kralzax has taught us. Maria took out a small device from her pocket, the quantum virus they had created on Earth. It looked like a simple metal cube, but inside was one of the most advanced computer programs ever made. How long will this take? Asked Eric, standing guard by the door. 10 minutes to connect it, said Maria. Another 5 for the virus to spread through their system. Do it, said Eric. He turned to Kralzax. What will happen when the virus activates? It will send the truth to every ship in the fleet, every planet in the Empire, said Kralzax. Everyone will see how this war started, how the High Council ignored warnings, how humans fight not out of bloodlust, but out of love for what they protect. And you think that will stop the war? Kralzax looked uncertain. I hope it will make enough of my people question why we are fighting. In our society, that alone is revolutionary. Sam and Maria worked quickly, connecting the virus to the alien systems. The minutes passed slowly. Almost done, said Maria, her fingers moving fast over the controls. Just need to. An alarm suddenly blared through the room. Red lights flashed. On the walls, what's happening? Asked Eric. Kralzax moved to a control panel. Someone has reported intruders. They're locking down the ship. How much longer? Eric asked Maria. 2 minutes, she said, working even faster now. We don't have 2 minutes, said Rosa, looking at a screen showing alien soldiers running through the halls toward them. They'll be here in less than 1. Eric made a quick decision. Finish it, he told Maria. The rest of us will hold them off. He, Rosa, and Ben moved to the door, weapons ready. Kralzax joined them. You don't have to fight your own people, Eric told him. I already have by helping you, said Kralzax. I might as well finish what I started. The door burst open, and alien soldiers poured in. The humans and Kralzax fired their weapons, trying to hold them back without killing them. They were outnumbered, but they only needed to buy a little more time. It's done, shouted Maria from behind them. The virus is in their system. On screens all around the room, images began to appear. Scenes from Earth showing families, children, playing, people working together. Then images of the first human ships sacrificing themselves to protect their planet. The faces of the crew of the Defiance before they flew into the Imperial supply base. And then came Kralzax's warnings to the High Council, his reports about humans that had been ignored. The truth was spreading through the Imperial fleet, ship by ship, screen by screen. In the middle of the fighting, the alien soldiers began to pause. They were seeing the images too, on their helmet displays and on wall screens. Some lowered their weapons, confused by what they were seeing. On the bridge of the Emperor's Will, Grand Admiral Drevkon watched in horror as the same images played on his command screens. His officers looked at him, waiting for orders, but uncertainty showed on their faces. Ignore this propaganda, he shouted. Prepare to attack Earth as planned. But his words had less force now. The doubt had been planted, and it was spreading. Throughout the fleet, officers and soldiers watched, the truth unfold before them. They saw how the war had started based on lies and ignored warnings. They saw humans not as mindless savages, but as beings fighting for their home. In the communication center, the fighting had stopped. The alien soldiers stood watching the screens, their weapons lowered. Eric looked at Kralzax. Is it working? I think so, said the alien commander. My people value truth and efficiency. A war based on lies is against everything we believe in. Suddenly the ship shook violently. Alarms sounded again. What now? Asked Eric. Kralzax checked a control panel. Some ships in the fleet are powering weapons. Others are moving to block them. They're fighting each other. Through the windows they could see what was happening. The Imperial fleet was dividing. Some ships were still moving toward Earth, while others were turning to stop them. A voice came over the ship's communication system. It was Grand Admiral Drevcon. "This is your commander. Ignore the false images. Continue with the attack." Another voice answered him, an older female voice with authority. "This is High Counselor Centril. I have seen the evidence. This war was started on false grounds. I order all ships to stand down immediately." The bridge of the flagship erupted in chaos. Officers argued with each other. Some followed Drevcon's orders, others Central's. In the communications center, Eric and his team watched as the Empire tore itself apart over the truth. "We need to get out of here," said Eric. Now, while they're confused, they fought their way back to their scout ship, Kralzax leading them through less guarded paths. As they reached the docking bay, more alarms sounded. "The flagship's weapons are powering up," said Kralzax, looking at a nearby screen. "Drevcon is going to attack Earth anyway with whatever ships still follow him." Eric looked at his team, then at Kralzax. "We have to stop him." "There's only one way," said Kralzax. "The bridge." They changed direction, fighting through the ship toward the command center. The flagship shook around them as other Imperial key ships fired on it, trying to stop Drevcon's attack. When they reached the bridge, they found it in chaos. Drevcon stood at the main control panel, pressing buttons frantically. Half the bridge crew were trying to stop him, while others defended him. "It's over, Admiral," said Kralzax, stepping forward with Eric and the humans behind him. "The war is over." Drevcon turned to them, his eyes wild with anger. "Traitor, you did this." He pulled out a weapon and fired at Kralzax. Eric pushed the alien commander aside, taking the shot in his shoulder. He fell to the ground wounded but alive. Rosa and the others fired back, not to kill but to disable. In the confusion, more bridge officers turned against Drevcon. They grabbed him, pulling him away from the controls. "Stand down the weapons," ordered Kralzax to the weapons officer. "Signal all ships to cease fire." The officer obeyed. Across the fleet, the fighting slowly stopped as more ships received and accepted the stand-down order. Maria helped Eric to his feet. "You okay?" He nodded, holding his wounded shoulder. "Worth it,"